So, hi Siddharth. Mm,
Hello.
why why did you want to become a why did you want to become a pilot? Like, what
I don't
inspired
think
you?
there's I don't think there's a why. It was just given. Like since day one, it was to fly or nothing else. So there were no distractions since day one. It was just, although it was to fly for the Air Force, but that didn't happen.
What is
So
day one?
day one is coming out of my mom's tummy.
But like, how did it come into your head? Like, was it like somebody told you, or were you
I know. I
just
think I was
like
initially exposed a
interested
bit
in it?
because I was exposed a bit because my granddad was Air Force, and then it was just repeated air shows, and I don't know, just it just came in and a very young age, like very young, and never changed.
So, what did you do? Like,
Long way, but finally here. Missed few targets, but
so Air Force, did you want to like take after your granddad?
no, my granddad didn't fly a lot, but I wanted to fly, but and you have to write the NDA and get in to the academy after you finish 12th, or you come in after you get a degree, a bachelor's. So I wrote the exam. I didn't clear the math paper. You have two papers, and then you have several rounds of selection. So the Air Force was out after NAFL. Then I had to rethink how and where to go about it. So commercial was the closest, although I don't want to stick to commercial all my life. But for now, it's that.
So, what did you do like to get to where you are right now?
I joined RV as a temporary thing, and then I didn't want to go on the conventional way of becoming a commercial pilot in India or the US because it's a lot different than doing it in Europe. Because in Europe, it's like university where you go for 3 years. So then I applied to one of the biggest schools there. When I was in RV, I had to go all the way there for several interviews without knowing if I'll make it or not. So my backup was to stay back in RV, and that was quite a nightmare. So it was a big gamble again. And yeah, 6 months in, it hit, and that's it. So I had to go there and give simulator exams, some theoretical exams, and there were two interviews. Then 2018, I left, and then it was nearly 3 years because of the mess with COVID. But the training was really different. Like what I've heard from guys who do it in US and in India, it's really different.
So, what was the college you went to?
So,
It's BA training. Like they rebranded it. It was Baltic Aviation. Now it's just BAA training. So they've got like a global chain, totally into aviation. They have bases in Italy, Lithuania, Spain, China, Vietnam, and they're forever expanding. So I was in, the theory and the ground school happened in Lithuania, and then all my flying was in Spain. Yeah, now back to Bangalore temporarily.
you mentioned that the experience of being a pilot in India or the US as a commercial pilot is completely different to that when you're a commercial pilot in Europe. How so?
Because it's almost 3 times faster in the US. In the US, it takes about 9 months. The whole the whole system. I'll have to get into really technical stuff, but the whole system is it's a bit different because the European regulations follow a separate set of rules, and the US follows a separate set of rules. I mean, eventually
Are the
you get,
European rules stricter?
they're not stricter, but the program I chose was the most intense one. It's like the
Okay.
highest level of certification, and so yeah, it is long and it's rigorous training. But it's fun because we had to. The ground school was a challenge as well because I thought it would be a lot easier. But we had 14 subjects to finish in 1 year. And,
But
the flying,
sorry, I cut you
yeah,
off. You can
no,
continue.
no, continue.
No, so I always ask this question to any pilot. Like, what was the first time, like the experience of the first time taking off?
I know for the first flight wasn't like the first flight. It felt like because I was hooked to the simulator like all through, like with the best graphics and the best stuff. So it was just a little more real than that. It's nice. Like your first landing is really nice. You know, it's you won't forget your first landing. And the first solo is like the most memorable one. The first flight, because the instructor is showing you a lot and stuff, but the first solo is when the plane's all, it's just you and the plane. And that happens quite soon, especially in the European program. It's in the first 8 hours. So in just 8 hours of flying with an instructor, if you clear all the 8 hours well, he signs you off to go on the first solo. That one's really special. It's
So
a small flight. It's just a 30-minute flight. But
what did you fly? What was the plane? Was it like a two-seater?
it was a two-seater. It's a Tecnam 2002. It's an Italian plane. And then I did my first. So there's VFR and IFR, like the two types of flying. VFR is just visual flight rules, so it's more of looking outside and flying. And then there's IFR, which is instrumental flight rules. It's just more of, you don't look out, you just look on your instruments and fly. So I could just fly eyes closed. So VFR was the Tecnam, the two-seater, and then as you move through, you change the aircraft, and then it was a four-seater, and then eventually you end up on the multi-engine.
What's it like to make that jump from a two-seater plane to a multi-engine plane?
There is a jump where the only bad part is we don't get a lot of training on the multi-engine. It's about 20 hours, and it's not enough to get used to it. Like the jump itself is one thing, and then that plane's really heavy, and the feeling is, it's really different because in the single engine you fly with the propeller in front and all the effects are a bit different, and with the multi you have them on the wing, like you know the turboprops you see at the airport.
Yeah.
Not the ones with the engine, but the propeller one. Everything changes and you need to get used to it. It's just getting you need time on it. So I mean 25-30 hours would be good, but it's powerful. It's a nice feeling to fly a multi.
So I've seen like through your Instagram account, you've traveled to a lot of places, like a lot of places. So like, how has that experience been? Has it been through the school or have you just taken that up on the side?
Now, I used to travel since 8th, 9th. So it has nothing to do with aviation. It was just me and traveling. So the first time I could legally travel, I went to China. I was 18, solo. And then, yeah, I've been going a lot of solos all over Southeast Asia and with friends. And more or less, all the European countries have been because I was there. And whenever we had time off, I would just make a 3-4 day trip to some country or the other. It's very easy in Europe to move around. Yeah, traveling has always been there, but I haven't traveled at all the past 2 years.
Well, what was like the best place you visited?
Everything has positive and negative. I mean, and it depends on what you want to do. Are you going you want a beach vacation or do you want to shop or
As a
want to climb
solo trip,
mountains or
like what would be like your personal best experience?
I think Cambodia.
Yeah, how was that?
Cambodia
Like,
was, it's just rave and party till you die. That's it. And the food is good. You meet a lot of people. There's a lot to see as well. It's just not going to the bar every day, but it's the tropical vibe.
yeah.
And it's a good getaway for 4 5 days, but not more than that. I really like Norway. Um, Spain's amazing. Malaga is amazing. Japan's really good. Again, they all fall into one category. It depends what you're looking for. So,
Yeah. So what like in terms of like being a pilot, like what stage are you in right now?
I just graduated 2.5 months ago. I came back home, and now I'm stuck. So until this mess clears up, I won't be able to go back.
So what is it? Is it like
So
a placement thing?
no. It's not the placement thing. You're on your own.
So you have to approach like individual airlines and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you don't have to fly an airline. You could fly. You could become a flight instructor. You could. There's so many things you could do with flying. You could become an agriculture pilot. You could fly for the UN. You could firefighting services. I mean, there's a list. You don't have to go and fly for an airline.
What do you want to do?
I'd like to become a flight instructor as soon as possible, but it's going to take a few months with this mess because I can't leave India.
So how would you like? I mean, it's been like the goal of yours, like to fly. You said since day one. So how's the experience been so far? Has it met your expectations, or has it been a worse experience, or has it been like better than what you expected?
Oh, it's definitely been better. I mean, 'cause you learn a lot more than flying the plane. Like flying the plane is like 20%, but your growth as a pilot mentally is the remaining 80%. This is something no one expects. You get really responsible, and it's more mental growth and your situational awareness and how ready you are for things. 'Cause I know we say it while flying, like how many steps ahead of the plane are you at that given point? That much easier it's going to be if there's a situation. So you're always like, you're like 2 steps ahead, you're like at the borderline. If you're like 5 steps ahead of the plane, then you're good. But if you're the same level as the plane and the situation happens, you're going to be lost. And it's happened to me. So with trial and error, you get there. We have some funny instances, some dangerous ones. So,
What is
What's
the
the
most
funniest
dangerous?
instance?
by funny, I didn't mean funny, but I meant dangerous.
I mean, like when you look back, it's funny.
It was, the Pyrenees, the mountains between Spain and France.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were flying in winter. It was the sunset. You have a lot of mountain waves. They're really strong winds, and we got caught. It was me. I wasn't flying solo. Luckily, I had my instructor. Or it would have been another situation. Uh, we got caught in these winds, and they were headwind, straight nose on, and they were so fast. Did I lose you guys?
No, we're here. I think just for
No,
a
we can see
second.
you.
Yeah, the winds were really fast that it was almost equal to our airspeed. So the net resultant was like zero.
Zero.
So we were static.
Wow.
Yeah, and we were full power, and we were like nose up because we don't cruise at full power because that's too much and that kills the engine. It's usually at like 70-75%. So to counteract that wind, we went on full, and yet we were still static and like nose up like this, and we were in that position for 40 minutes, and it was getting dark, and then like the mountain ranges just get bigger on your right, and on your left, again it's
Empty
not
land.
ideal. The only exit was either straight or turn back, but turn back was out because if you turn back, the winds is so strong it's going to topple the plane. So that's just out. Like you cannot turn back. So the only option was to battle the wind and eventually find an opening, which took 40 minutes. Initially, the whole process was slow. It was 40 minutes, so it takes time to understand what's happening. And my instructor took controls, of course, and he was sweating to battle it out, and I was handling communications and just checking all the other stuff and giving it to him because he was flying it physically. It was a bit tense, quite tense. I mean, we were lucky we had fuel to keep it at full power because these planes don't carry so much fuel, and if you burn them for like an hour or so, your tank's going to be empty, and then so everything was against us, like more or less. It was the winds. It was the only thing was fuel. We were very lucky to have enough to keep it for 40 minutes, just like that. And yeah, I just kept looking down, and it was the same spot, and we were just like hovering here. And my instructor was like, "Man, I don't think this is a nice situation." I mean, he did want to convey to me that there is a possibility of things going very wrong.
So what is like your frame of mind at that very moment? Like, do they like train you for that, or is it just like you said, you have to be
No, I don't think
mentally
anyone
prepared?
can train you for these real life situations. I mean, a lot of exercises are to train you for this, but when it comes in real, no, it's different. No matter how much of training you have, 'cause even the instructor was sweating. I mean, I was just looking at him, and it took a
I,
while to.
I mean, it's 40 minutes. So when did the panic set in for you?
There was no panic. It was just. It wasn't panic, but it was just there is a possibility that I might not make it back, and I didn't want to panic. I mean, if you panic, that's the worst thing you can do. It's worse than turning over and toppling the plane is to panic in such a situation. So now I just wanted to help him as much as I could because we were very close to Barcelona, and the airspace in Barcelona is really busy. So handling the radio also was. I had to keep telling them that we're literally stuck, and I mean they couldn't help us either because you're not on land where they send a helicopter and pick you up. So you're on your own here. Like there's no one.
And
What's it
also,
like?
But
yeah, good.
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to ask, what's it like communicating with the air bases in a different language? Do you have to communicate in their language, or
Yeah, that was the
is
same
No,
that
no,
question
it's
I was
English.
gonna ask.
It's
oh,
English. English.
okay,
You
It's all
can,
English.
however, communicate. It's all English is the standard worldwide, but you can, however, speak in a common language if the air traffic controller and you speak the same language. In Spain, all the Spanish airlines, the frequency is always in Spanish. Then you see this American Airlines coming in, and then it suddenly changes to English. So I would talk in English, because I don't speak Spanish.
But
okay.
is that like even when you're learning, would that be like anything that affects like the language barrier, or is even the training like
No,
the
no, no,
English is
no,
pretty
no,
good?
because everyone's certified for English proficiency. You have to get the certification. So everyone speaks English, like all pilots and all air traffic controllers around the world, whatever country. So that was an interesting situation. Eventually we battled after 40 minutes. We got this small opening where we got some airspeed, to kill the wind, and it started increasing. We were like an airspeed, let's say we call it ground speed, so the speed over the ground of 20 kilometers per hour was like a blessing to us. I mean, I run that fast.
What,
So
what was the
eventually,
plane you were traveling in? Like, was it a two-seater
it
then?
was a
Oh,
Cessna 172. It was a
oh.
4.
I've heard that the Cessna is like the most unsafest in terms of.
The most safest, I'd say.
I've heard like
The
for private.
Cessna.
I'm not sure. I've heard this from one person specifically, but yeah, I don't know. Probably
Cessna
they're right.
172 is like the most popular aircraft there is, I think, for
It's it's
training.
it's just the one with the wingspan on top, right? Like on top of the
Yeah,
cabin.
yeah, it's high wing.
So,
And there was another incident was near mid-air collision. We were at
Wow.
because these so flight schools usually have like these designated training areas like near the base, and that's where you go and practice your maneuvers and your stalls and stuff. Sometimes it gets a bit crowded because these areas are very small, maybe 1/4 the size of Bangalore by perimeter, or maybe half. But it's small when you're flying and you have like 2 3 planes in that, and everyone's doing some sort of maneuver at a different level. It's hard to even communicate with them. You have to keep a lookout the whole time. And we were practicing our engine failures. After you finish the maneuver, you start climbing up, because when you practice the engine failure, you go all the way down to the ground. And we were climbing up, and I was drinking water, and I was talking to my instructor about the water bottle, and we were just climbing up, and then he was like, "Man," there was like this other plane that just went. It was like I didn't see it, but you just have a glimpse of it like go past you. It's so bright, that speed, like, and it was another aircraft from my school itself, and they were stalling, and they couldn't see us because this aircraft, the wings are below, so you can't see who's below you, and they didn't even see us. And it was really close, maybe 5-10 meters at that speed is like
Oh wow.
nothing. Yeah, and then there were like a lot of new policies that came up in the school with training in the training area.
from your incident.
Yeah, because we both reported it that could be quite fatal. And then it was limited to just 2 planes in a training area. Because 3, 4, you don't know who's where. That speed, this guy's there that second, and the next second you're next to him. So
Do they teach you how to
I
like
mean,
get out of those situations? Like, as in, like, in case it did happen, like, do they teach you how to like eject from the plane or something?
I don't know, you can't eject from these planes.
Oh,
See, if the plane goes down, you go down too.
but like, there's no way of like getting out of the plane.
Oh, I mean, what situation? I mean, you mean a
Like,
mid-air collision?
no, maybe not a mid-air collision because that would be like immediate. But like, for example, the one where you were stuck in the air for 40 minutes, and if the fuel ran out at that point, like, how do you get out of
Then,
this?
then we would carry out an emergency landing, like
And
as though we had an engine failure. Because yeah, we would have an engine failure because there's no fuel. Then we trained a lot to handle an engine failure, like to glide and pick a field and land. That's one of the hardest exams you have while flying.
So you actually do that, like
because you have no power. And
like
you
in the
would.
exam,
It's in your
you
final exam as well. Yeah, I mean they don't shut down the engine. Like on the single engine, they don't shut it down completely, but it's on idle. The power is zero. Even on power zero, it's like the engine is not like neutral. There's still some torque in case the propeller, if it's a jet engine, there's thrust. There's a minute amount of power still being produced, but it mimics an engine failure. And then you calculate your glide, you have to visualize everything and the whole glide and where you pick a field and you execute the landing. So we put it on idle and go all the way down, like really close to the field, like maybe 5-6 feet above the field, and he would put the power and then we go up. So you do the whole thing like 100 times till you clear the exam. And it's nice because everything is how fast you react, and the more you take 5 seconds more, you're going to miss 400 meters of gliding distance. The faster you are, the more time you glide. Otherwise, you just fall.
what is a
So
plane you would
it's
like to fly? Like as in the plane that's like your dream plane.
there are lots. There are lots.
But like the top of the list. And if there's lots, like do you have a list and are you like notching them down? Like do you get opportunities to fly such planes?
No. I can't fly everything on my list, but a few of them, yeah. But it's hard. It's not easy to get what you want to fly. That's the worst part of being a pilot. Sometimes you just have to settle with what you get. I would have loved to fly the Sukhoi, but that's a dream that's gone. But besides fighter, I like to fly the IL-76. It's this big, monstrous Russian aircraft. You'd know because if you've been watching the news on the Air Force doing the deliveries of the oxygen cylinders and the concentrators, have you seen those pictures recently?
Yeah, I've only seen like the back of the plane.
Yeah, you know the big payload door opens.
Yeah, the one that like the ones in movies where these people
Yeah,
just
the
jump
one
out.
that comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that one. Yeah, I'd love to fly that. The chances are slim, but that's a
Who
fun
does
plane to
fly
fly.
those? Like what is the criteria to fly those, and what is the operation of those planes?
Indian Air, it was built for the Air Force. I mean, this model goes back to 1960. I mean, the plane was developed in 1960, and it's still the most capable strategic aircraft until now, over 50 years. Because this plane can fly into anything, land on anything. I mean, they fly to Antarctica, they land on ice, they land on mud, they land on, I don't know, you put whatever you want, and that plane will land. And yeah, it takes off, it lands in just 900 meters. That's like nothing. Yeah, but there are companies, these cargo airlines, some of them fly them. So my hope would be with a few of these cargo airlines in Central Asia. Otherwise, Boeings are fine. For the Boeing over the Airbus, if that's one of your question
I
eventually.
think Akul has a
That was
question.
definitely one of my questions. Yeah,
So
definitely. Why are you a Boeing person over an Airbus?
my personal opinion, because
Okay.
it's a big debate and everyone has their own point. Boeing is a lot more, you feel control of the plane because it's mechanical. The Airbus is highly automated and it follows fly-by-wire. I don't know if you know about it. So it's electrical impulses that it's not, the Boeing, when you want to pitch up, you pull the stick up,
Yeah.
and it's a pulley system, like cables
Yeah.
and pulleys. So it's you feel the force of the plane. On the Airbus, it's different. It's just electrical impulses through wires. So I mean, it's not, you don't get a real feel of the plane. It's a lot of flight computers recalculating stuff, and it's just like manual versus automatic. What would you prefer? I would prefer manual. So Boeings are just a lot more manual. I think with flying, it's you need to be in control of what you're flying. I mean, that's another big debate that's going on because the level of automation in flying is just increasing and increasing and increasing, and pilots get way, complacent with this. A lot of errors happen with this because they lose their skills. Because sadly, but all the commercial flights, the minute you take off, it's autopilot. And just a few seconds before you land, they disengage. It's so much automation that, my personal opinion is, it's too much. You need to keep current with flying, but that's how it is. It's just going to get more now. It's just going to keep increasing.
And I think that's it, like all technology, but at the same point, some things can't change.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
just
had
have to
one more
adjust.
pilot on this show, and then he liked the Airbus because he said it was more comfortable to fly. So I think now I understand why.
Yeah, it is. It is more comfortable because I did a course on the Airbus 320 when we finished. It was my last semester. I did 20 hours on the Airbus 320. It's a lot more comfortable than the Boeing. I mean, you've got this table to put your food on and eat, which is a big plus. You've got a lot of leg room where you fold your legs and you can put them up. And the Boeing, it's impossible, man. You move like this and you're touching something or the other. It's really cramped. But I'm there to fly the plane. I don't care about the service.
And you started
So,
Airbus, right?
yeah, Airbus.
What was the
So I would write
objective with that? Yeah, it's
just
temporarily.
it was to write articles because I would consider myself an aviation analyst as well. It's not just flying I'm passionate about, but I'm an
Everything to do
aviation
with it.
freak, if you'd call it. Yeah, with aviation. So I thought of writing articles and I did write, but I just didn't find the correct market. So that was a bit, maybe I'll revive it some other time.
I
But
think it was like a really good idea. I think you should bring
did
it
you
back,
read some
definitely.
stuff?
I've gone through your Instagram page, and like it's the way you put it across, it's pretty concise and very informative. Because I think if someone wanted to search for that, they'd go through this proper, like those analyst pages, which aren't like, for a layman, they wouldn't understand that. But I think
Yeah.
when you get it on your post and the way you put it out, like if you're interested in that topic, you can cover it. So and even the
Yeah, that was
website
the
that you have,
problem.
even the
Sorry,
website
go
that
on.
you have the website as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty cool too. I think you should bring it back. Yeah.
Yeah, but I have to find the right market because this going out to a layman, I can understand. It's a bit
Yeah.
too much, I guess. So it's hard to find that market in India. It's not yet there, like this aviation dedicated market. So I don't know. I'll have to think of how to bring it back.
I think there's a market, but it just takes time to find your audience. I think that's all
Probably that too.
I'm saying. Yeah. So what would you like suggest to anyone who wanted to fly or just get into aviation?
Get into aviation, I don't know because aviation is huge. But what to fly?
Like to fly.
First, she needs to know if that's what they want to do. I mean, be clear with what you want to do and don't regret it later. It's not all that fancy. I mean, flying isn't all that fancy. It's a struggle to get to the point where you're done. I mean, the studying, it's not rocket science. Anyone can clear it with hard work, but it's a lot of struggle and it takes time, it's patience. And, I mean, even flying for an airline, I don't think it's like all that nice the way you see it. You're away, you're tired, you disconnect from people. So, I mean, be clear on what you want to do once you get in there. And it's a big investment. But if it's where your heart lies, I mean, don't think that's because I do this again 100 times to be where get into flying.
Yeah, that,
So
that
just
was
be
my
sure, and that's it.
yeah. That was my last question, and I like honestly, it was like really like just talking to you and seeing how interested you are with aviation. Like it's kind of inspiring, like honestly. And I wish you all the best, and like I hope that this COVID situation clears out for everyone, but for you especially, so that you get to go back and do what you love.
No, it's not me; it's everyone. I mean, it's a global effect. Even if it just clears out for me, I'm not going to be flying. So
Yeah,
yeah, I hope this gets back. Everyone gets back. No one's stuck anymore. And hopefully, I'll inspire some young pilots someday.
I think you
I
already
haven't
are.
You'll
achieved
definitely have.
much yet. So 10 years down the line, if they need pilots, that's another fear. Again,
Yeah,
with the level of automation,
yeah.
we'll be out in another 20 years. I don't think they'll need pilots.
I think just
20, 30, 20 30 years. Yeah.
I think it's just adapting, like everyone. But I would sit in a plane with a pilot than a plane without a pilot. If you ask for my personal opinion,
But at the point when you don't have an option, then
then I wouldn't try. I guess I don't know. Hope not. So yeah, that's about it. That's the end of our segment here.
it was good to talk about aviation after a long time.